Dienes is a lecturer in clinical and health psychology at Swansea University and has been looking into the importance of hugs. Kimberly, welcome. Is the need to hug inbuilt? Is it part of the human condition?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Mobeen. Human contact and human touch is something that is important for every single one of us, not just for how we're feeling, right? Not just for your emotions, your moods, but it's also something that can actually protect you against colds. It's actually something that can actually increase your immunity. Yeah.
How so?
Absolutely.
No
Social
way.
Contact.
How? Explain this to me.
Well, I won't go into the biology of it, but I will say, at least not right now, I will say that when we have social support, when we have social touch, hugs, a mother holding a baby for the first time, these things, when we touch people, they actually reduce pain. The touch reduces pain. It can improve immunity, triggers the release of hormones that do all sorts of good stuff in our bodies. Touch is something that is important for each one of us emotionally, but also biologically, and a lot of people don't know that. And it's something that is very, very important to keep as part of our lives. We've been talking to people since the beginning of lockdown as part of our research. And a number of people have really been alone. Like, social isolation is extremely painful.
Of course. And I just want to ask you what, so you just referenced biology and you referenced the emotional aspect. And I think all of us, everyone listening will know that when you hug someone you love or you care about, there's a particular feeling that comes with that. So is there some way to explain what is going on there on an emotional level, on a biological level? What happens to us when we hug someone?
Okay, and it is a very kind of fundamental level. When we hug someone and we're feeling good, there's all sorts of neurochemicals that are going on in our brain that are making us happy, right? And they trigger other things in our bodies, things that actually increase our ability to fight off infections, and that's kind of the neurochemical side. And then on another level, our hormones, right? Have you heard of cortisol, right? Which is stress hormone. Yeah. That's what I study, right? We've done studies where you actually kind of hold someone's hand during a stress task, where you have some sort of contact with a romantic partner. It actually reduces your biological stress reaction. So you're going to produce less cortisol.
That is actually quite brilliant. I mean, hugging... Well,
thank you.
It is, and I love how you explained it to a non-biologist, non-psychologist like me as well. But hugging is one thing. Another thing that's kind of a massive part of our culture, which we've stopped doing over the last year or more, is, of course, shaking hands. Do you think that will return, really?
I think that shaking hands has been part of our culture. I'm not going to say universally, obviously, because it differs based on country. But in the UK, I am American, but for us too, shaking hands has been part of our culture for a very long time. And I think that people are going to want to return to normal. You know, we've been talking to people in our research about not only how hard the isolation has been, but also how much they want to return to as much kind of normal functioning as possible. And shaking hands is what we call a social norm. It's something that brings us comfort, just as, you know, being around like-minded people does. Being in groups can bring that same kind of comfort because you're part of society. And shaking hands is part of that norm that I think we want to return to.
Of course. Have you done anything differently today? I know, if I'm not mistaken, you're in Swansea, or you lecture in Swansea at least.
Yes.
So have you had a celebratory hug with anyone today?
Actually, I had a very huge celebratory hug with cousins that we haven't seen in 2 years. So that was just so exciting. And then I have to say, last week, we could eat outside for the first time. And somebody saying, you know, can I get you anything? It was like, what?
Those magic words.
I'm a mom, and it was like, wow. But just that the biggest thing was actually just being able to hold family again that we hadn't seen in a year and a half.
That is quite
incredible.
Yeah.
For my kids too, they were so happy.
It is lovely to hear about things incrementally getting back to some kind of normality. Thank you for speaking to us and taking the time today. That was Dr. Kimberly Dienes there. So.